Well, hello, thank you for joining me today again on the Church History Trail. You're very welcome to the channel. And you can see the beautiful scenery there. You can see the lovely hills with the forests and also the beautiful green fields and then the mountains in the background. And we're not too far from Jonesborough, and also we're not too far from the town of Newry. And where we're actually in an old graveyard here. And there's two old churches. One of these churches is a medieval church. The first one there on the left. It looks like one big church, but it's actually two churches. And there's also a lady buried here of the church. And I'm going to show you her grave. So this is part of the Ring of Gullion, the Ring of Gullion Way, and it's Killevy Old Churches. Killevy, which is the Church of the Mountain, so the mountains behind it, is nestled on the eastern slopes of Slieve Gullion, and is the site of one of Ireland's most important early convents. This was founded in the mid-5th century by the somewhat austere St. Moninna, I think it is, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, who lived there until her death in 518 AD. A plain granite slab at the north end of the graveyard marks her resting place, and a holy well dedicated to her memory can also be seen on the hillside above the church. And that's her there, praying for someone, as you can see. And you can see the cows there up on the hill. So I'm going to show you her grave first after we have a wee jig at this billboard, and then I'll show you the churches as well. So that's a reconstruction of Killevy Church, and it says here, Killevy Churches. The important early convent of Killevy was founded towards the end of the 5th century. St. Moninna, also known as Diraka or Blind, it remained a house of nuns for almost 1,000 years, one of only 4 women's foundations in Ireland to survive as major convents. 923, the place was plundered by Vikings from Carlingford Lough, and in 1146 people were killed by a great wind that caused damage all over the north. In the Middle Ages, Killevy was a convent of Augustinian nuns, which was dissolved in 1542 under King Henry VIII, of course. And then it says, the very long narrow church you see is in fact 2 churches which have been joined together, as you can see. The West Church is the only surviving pre-Norman church in County Armagh, and its massive lintel door dates from the 10th or 11th century, which is this one here. So that doorway there that you're looking at, that dates from the 10th or 11th century. Isn't that amazing? So I'm going to show you this grave first. There's also a Commonwealth grave in here. Just came across it, so I will show you that as well. And there's also a, well, I assume he's a priest, or he was going on to be a priest. He's buried here, 1853. I think he died. But he was at Maynooth Roman Catholic College. Now, I've actually been down there videoing. So I haven't. I was actually through the grounds of that college when I was down videoing the castle and whatnot. So this is it here. You can see the place is all moss, as you can see. But this is it here. This broken slab I think it's Moninna. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, but that's the grave anyway. So it is. So a bit of history there. So I'm going to show you this Commonwealth grave. And while I'm at it, I will show you the mountains, or the hills, call them what you will. So I'm just wondering, is it that? No, I think it's the other door that I mentioned. But isn't this beautiful scenery? Just have to be careful where I'm walking with my knees, because they're not too strong. I've got my crutch with me. Isn't that beautiful? You can see the lovely forest there. Now you can see a cross there, and that cross actually marks the spot where the well is, to the girl that I just mentioned. That's where that lady's well is, or at least it's named after her anyway. So I'm going to show you this soldier. I'll show you what I think's a priest's grave. I'm not sure. He was at the college anyway. And then I'll show you the churches, or the two churches. So this is the Commonwealth grave. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place for it, isn't it? Look at that. My goodness. Isn't that just beautiful? So here's what it says here. It's actually an Enniskillener, you can tell by the badge there. Royal Enniskillen Fusiliers. And of course that's the Watergate of the Enniskillen Castle. And that's the only part of that castle that's original. And the Enniskilleners were formed for the defence of Enniskillen during the Williamite Wars in Ireland. And you can see the crown there above. So this says O'Loughlin, Royal Enniskillen Fusiliers, died 10th of November 1916, First World War. So there you go, and you can see it there. It says Royal Enniskillen Fusiliers, and you can see the old spelling. It's not an E, it's an I for Enniskillen. There's a wee tree there. Strange that, isn't it? You didn't think that was growing on that tree? Like a fungi or something. And the clegs would eat you alive. They bite into you and you can feel it itchy and sharp. And then they start sucking your blood. They're a nuisance. So this is the grave here. Now I'm not going to get in there. There's no way. Am I getting in there? So I'll zoom up here as best I can for you. So there you can see, well, that's a crucifix and then two faces and then something underneath that. Now I can't make out that writing there. Don't know if you can. You can maybe pause, have a read of that. And then there's more writing over there. But unfortunately, I'm not getting in. There's no way I get squeezed by there. But you can maybe zoom up, pause it, and zoom up because I can do that with my camera. And then that's the grave there of who I think's a priest. So it says there 1853, I think. Yeah, 1853, April. He died. You can see there it's RCC, Roman Catholic College. You can see the college bit at the sea. In Moninna, down south. So I think that's a Roman Catholic priest buried there. Or at least maybe someone who was training at the college. I'm not too sure. But there's no way I'm getting in there. No chance. I would have to fast for about 3 weeks to get in there. So you can see there's modern graves here, as well as the old graves. Some of those graves are just broke, you can't even read them. Obviously that tree there has come down in the last storm. Give you a wee view here of the side of the graveyard and the churches. Look at the size of the block there, my goodness. Well, there's some thickness, ain't there? That's definitely going to hold. I think there's writing on that, but there's no way you could decipher that now. Some size of blocks. There's my hand just to give you a let you see just the size of that. Here's a grave there. That's erected by John Dugan of Cloughog to commemorate his brother, the Reverend Hugh Dugan, pastor of Ballymascallion, and for 2 years pastor of Carlingford. He was pastor at Carlingford. It can be truly said that he was a faithful dispenser of the mysteries of Christ. He departed this life the 21st of April 1833, aged 64 years. Them flies are eating me alive here. Here lie the remains of his affectionate parents. So I'm just wondering, is he's possibly a priest, because it says they're requisite in peace, or requisite in peace. So I think normally they're in Roman Catholic graves, not in Protestant graves. There's a wee cubbyhole. I wonder if there's any jewels in there from years ago. Let's have a wee look. I have my torch with me. I should have brought my torch. No, no jewels. No gold. Just the one grave in here. Anything up there? Nope. What about in here? Nope. One of these days I'm going to look at one of my cubby holes and I'm going to find jewels from about the 6th century. And then I'll be able to pay a cameraman full time to come round with me. Wouldn't that be great? There's the mountain again. Beautiful. Very peaceful here. So I've read about these churches ages ago, but I just stumbled across them by accident today. So it's great to actually be able to see them. So let's go into this one. Tell you one thing, you wouldn't, if you were a bricky, how would you fancy lifting them blocks to build a house? You could be only Schwarzenegger or Mr. T. A few more graves in here now. See the big window. So there's a bit of information here now in this one. Again, that's reconstruction of the East Church around 1450. So it says here, Killevy churches. Monastic life continued at Killevy into the Middle Ages with the foundation of an Augustinian convent, probably in the late 12th century. There are frequent references in medieval documents, several of them reflecting increasing tensions between church and lay power. For example, papal records show that the rectory was disputed in 1535 between Susanna McAnamy, calling herself a nun of the Order of the Augustinians, and Phelim O'Neill, that's the Gaelic chieftain. The end of the convent came in 1542 when the last abbess, Alicia O'Hanlon, withdrew with her companions, and the site and endowments were granted to Sir Marmaduke Whitechurch. And I've covered him before when I done another church, Lochbricklin. Then it says there the East Church is medieval, probably 15th century, and it was here that Edmund Kunsberg, royal nominee for the primacy, met the papal nuncio Octavian in November 1477. The most notable architectural feature is a steeply pitched east gable, complete with fine coping stones and large window opening, which is this here. Although many of the cut stones have been removed, if you look closely you can see the small bar holes in the jambs. The fact that they are mismatched shows that the window was once divided by a central mullion. There are also carved heads, both crowned either side of the window on the outside, which I will show you. It says the south wall contains the remains of two rectangular window openings and a small wall cupboard, probably used to hold sacred vessels during worship. There are no windows in the north wall, but towards the east end is a curious lintel doorway, perhaps intended to echo the west door in the adjacent earlier church, but clumsily and unskilled by comparison. It may have led out to domestic buildings, including the house of the abbess, where Königsberg resigned in 1477, but no trace survives, and the area is covered by burials. Several cut and worked stones can be identified in the space between the two churches, including a large granite slab with a cross in low relief, probably originally used as a grave marker or cover, and possibly dating from the 12th or 13th century. So that's the gable there that they're talking about, and I just showed you. I'm not even going to look up there. No, my luck, that's where all the jewels will be. That I haven't looked. Age 56. 1854. Jane O'Hanlon, I think it is, or something like that. It's broke, it's hard to make out the surname. So look at this here. My goodness, what was this? So I'm gonna show you these heads. And then we'll wrap this wee video up. Very substantial bit of brickwork left there, isn't there? So this is the heads they're talking about. I hope you can see them. Just hard to get the light right. But that's the heads they're talking about there. There's the other one. Maybe better if I show it like that. Yeah, you can see it a bit better. So there you go, folks. That's us done and dusted.